Hello, everybody. It's Safety Wars for Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. Yeah, we got the air raid siren on here. Aye. So, when I was a youth, back in the 70s, before cable TV, they would have like events. Come on, like big events. So, for example, you'd have the Wizard of Oz. Come on, like once a year, right? And it would be like an event. No, everybody would be like, all the parents. Oh, let's get all the kids together. We could go and have, a Wizard of Oz watch party. They also did the same thing with the, why is this camera not even today? Right? They do the same thing with like the Christmas shows. Okay, everybody come over. We're going to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Right? So what do you think happened? We have all these big events and everything else. And then we have, right, one of my favorite movies would come out. And that was, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Right? And what else could describe what we're going through here? In the last 2 months, someone argues since January of last year, it's a mad, mad, mad world, to say the least. Now, here's a question for you. I'm going to read this out to you. And let's see where this goes. Let's say that you have, every year, basically, since 1954, approximately 130 political leaders and experts from industry, finance, labor, academia, and the media are invited to take place in a meeting. About 2/3 of the participants come from Europe and the rest from North America, 1/3 from politics and government, the rest from other fields. We're talking like CEO types, very noteworthy people, political candidates sometimes. The meeting is a forum for informal discussions about major issues. The meetings are held under the Chatham House rules, which state that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers or any other participant may be revealed. Thanks to the private nature of the meeting, the participants take part as individuals, rather than in any official capacity, and hence are not bound by the conventions of their office or by pre-agreed positions. As such, they can take time to listen, reflect, and gather insights. There is no detailed agenda, no resolutions are proposed, no votes are taken, and no policy statements are issued. Now, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Wouldn't you say what they call a conspiracy theory here, right? Let's say that, no, the world is at war. Right? I'm sorry, this is a world war we're in at this point. Between Ukraine, between Iran, and everything else. I don't know how else you would define this other than World War III. That's not me being conspiratorial here or being, freaking out. Let's say that we have a meeting right out there. And this meeting, right, these are the topics. They released the agenda for 50 plus years, probably closer to 70 years. They never released the agenda here. We have to get it from like the water boy sort of thing, the bus boy, somebody doing the janitorial, now we call it custodial staff. We would get things. All right, so here we have in alphabetical order what the meeting was this year. AI, Arctic security, China, digital finance, energy diversification, Europe, global trade, the Middle East, Russia, transatlantic defense industrial relationship, Ukraine, USA, future warfare, and, quote, the West, whatever that means. And what if I were to tell you that between the 2 weeks running up to this meeting, there would be no news coverage of it. None. Zero. Not in Fox News, not on NBC, not on CBS, not on CNN, not in the New York Times. Maybe a passing, but really nothing there that I can find. Not on the Associated Press, not in Reuters or United Press International. No meetings. What if I were to tell you that we had the Secretary of Interior there, Douglas Burgum, Lord Camilla Cavendish from Great Britain, Jack Chambers, the Irish Minister for Public Expedition, Jack Clark from the company Anthropic, which is an AI company, Secretary of the Army in the United States, Driscoll, Jamie Samgreer from U.S. Trade Representative, Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Minister of Defense from Sweden, Director of White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, the King and Queen of Netherlands, and the list goes on of CEOs and other people. And what if I said, well, no, they're not advertising it? You say, Jimmy, you're nuts. Thus is what happened for the last week, or, depending on where you want to start, about the Bilderbergs. They're talking right now, all of that stuff, secret meetings every year. This particular meeting, we had the King and Queen of Netherlands here. My wife heard about it. It was like, oh, look, the King and Queen of Netherlands are here, blah, blah, blah. Right? And we don't hear about it. Here is an article from theguardian.com. Secret Bilderberg Group just met, but who knows what the global elite said. Article by Charlie Skelton. This year's conference had plenty of newsworthy aspects, but it's a mystery why the press fails to talk about it. The 72nd meeting of the Bilderberg Group, the elite and secretive policy conference that is a long-time subject of endless conspiracy theories. Not our fault that there's conspiracy theories when you have a big meeting with world leaders and nobody knows what was said there. What's really scary is in 2008, you had Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama go to this meeting that happened to be in Washington that year, which also had the Queen of England, I believe, was there, or the now King of England, Charles. And then everybody comes out of there, and all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton drops out of the race. We're not supposed to have conspiracy theory. We don't know. We don't know. A security cordon went up around the opulent Salamander Hotel for the notorious Media Shy Summit, which was packed as ever with prime ministers, military leaders, tech billionaires, the heads of giant investment companies. Bilderberg, which since the 1950s has been the intellectual engine room of NATO. Has NATO been in the news lately? Has the president of this country, Trump, talked about NATO? Not holding up their end of the bargain, so to speak. That's his opinion, not mine. I'm stating fact. Right? Right? So, Bilderberg, which since the 1950s has been the intellectual engine room of NATO, took place this year at a time of immense crisis and uncertainty for the alliance. In recent weeks, with Trump threatening at every turn to withdraw from the paper tiger of NATO, the transatlantic defense industrial relationship, as it's called on the agenda, has reached a strained breaking point. The head of NATO and Bilderberg regular Mark Rutte arrived at the conference. Right, so the head of NATO was there. Again, not on the news. Don't need to know about that, fellas. But away from Trump's bluster for all this rhetoric about abandoning NATO, there are no signs that Americans are withdrawing from Bilderberg. Far from it, the Americans were there in force. Wall Street titans, including CEOs of KKR and Lazard, the heads of huge corporations like Pfizer, met behind closed doors with a delegation of senior politicians close to the president. Big business lobbying in private is Bilderberg's specialty. And the secretive mix of private and public sectors fits perfectly with Trump's brand of crony capitalism. Again, this is The Guardian saying this, not Jimmy Posel. Trump's trusted Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum, was attending along with his favorite trade guru, Robert Lighthizer. They were joined by Trump's economic ally, Jason Smith, and the chair of influential House Ways and Means Committee and Secretary of the Army, Jan Driscoll, right, and his secretary, Dan Driscoll, known as Trump's drone guy, quote unquote. And it goes on and on and on. So here's what my issue is here. And this, again, was from the Guardian.co.uk. We have all these people showing, it's not on the news. So what my question is this. What the hell were they talking about? And are we being effed around as usual? Right? Manipulation of the mind. Manipulation here. Meetings behind closed doors. Do these things happen all the time where they pick up the phone? Hey, dude, what's going on here? Yeah, okay, great. I get it. Believe me, I get it. My question is, were there any sunshine laws broken here? Were they discussing official business behind closed doors with all these leaders? Isn't there like a law behind? I don't know. Does the executive of the United States have a right to have private conversation? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Doesn't matter Republican or Democrat. But it makes you say, especially when they don't release the agenda for how many years? And now, under political pressure from the other wars out there in 2008, now they're releasing the agenda and announcing this. I mean, it's got, by me here, and I'm usually on top of this stuff. Not going to happen again. Again, what are they not saying? A lot of unelected people are in control, apparently, that have these discussions. En masse, 130 people. I don't know what to think. It's a mad, 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 mad world indeed. And that's my opening monologue here. And I'll say this much, it's getting more and more and more crazier out here. And if these folks are saying or doing things, planning out your life, your economy, everything you have to do, shouldn't we have a say in that? I think so. Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
That's true. We are not usually involved with any of these stories. A lot of stuff going on out there in the world. A lot of it. We're going to talk, as usual, with the Department of Labor press releases. A lot going on there. Again, even in your organization that you belong to, regardless of what it is, the secret meetings and everything, not being upfront forward with you, does that ever lead to really good things in your workplace? I don't know. Especially if it has to do with safety, or would we be okay in our workplace? And I'm talking about the safety of the workers and behind closed doors. And then decisions that you don't understand are made. How the bleep did they come up with that decision? I don't know. It's done behind closed doors. I'm for openness. I'm in for some things you gotta have behind closed doors, but now you say, what the hell? And now we're okay with the 130 world leaders meeting every year? What is it there? And again, both administrations, Democrat, Republican, have to go there. Because if you're not involved with it, you don't know what's going on. And the other thing is this. You're not involved with it, you don't have any input on what goes on. You're guaranteed not to have any input. on this. Yeah. I gotta get these cameras straightened out. But anyway, where have we been? We've been extremely busy. Yes, I do know the audio got a little bit fouled up there last program. We'll be fixing it. That's why we didn't come out with a video on it, on that portion of that. We'll fix it. Hopefully this will be good. I know it was a very long rant last time with this stuff. It was good. Good to get things off of your chest here. So let's go right over to let's go right over to the Department of Labor news here. Oh, before we say that, it is April 15th, right? And we had recently the nationwide protests here in this country. The No Kings rally. We had some well-known people attend. Well-known to this audience. Well-known to Safety FM. And that's okay. We'll all have our opinions here. But what's going on in Ireland? Did you see what's going on with all the protests on immigration? How about our dispute with the Pope, right? The president's dispute with the Pope. I don't think that's ever a good idea to have a dispute with the Pope, by the way. But guess what? There's a dispute out there, and it's going back mudslinging. Some of the private text messages I've received in relation to this program. Why aren't you talking about the Pope? I don't talk about the Pope. Wish him well. Don't agree with him on everything. Agree with him on a lot of stuff. Everyone's at each other's throats. We got to just take a chill pill, sit back, relax. Have a can of no-calorie soda made with the stevia leaf. That's what I say. All right. U.S. Department of Labor. Here, press release number 1. What do we got here? U.S. Department of Labor Mascaro Construction Company partnered to promote safety and health during Heinz History Center expansion. U.S. Department of Labor's OSHA has signed a strategic partnership with Mascaro Construction Company to promote worker safety and health during a major expansion of the Heinz History Center in Pittsburgh. The partnership between the OSHA Pittsburgh area office and the construction company seeks to prevent work-related injuries, control and eliminate serious workplace hazards, establish a foundation for an effective safety and health program. This initiative will also assist contractors developing and implementing safety and health management systems and train subcontractors on recognizing hazards when working in and around construction sites. The Heinz History Center campus expansion will add a new wing that includes exhibitions of Pittsburgh's history, updated visitor amenities, a 150-seat theater, and smart classrooms, cafe, and event spaces. Construction on the facility will conclude by May 2028. The U.S. Department of Labor announces, thank you, isn't this nice she delivered me snacks? Thank you, Jessica. The Department of Labor announces, those will look like good hamburgers too. U.S. Department of Labor announces availability of $85 million in grant funding to support registered apprenticeship expansion and modernization. U.S. Department of Labor announced the availability of $85 million in funding to help states and territories fuel registered apprenticeship expansion and advance at President Trump's goal of reaching and surpassing 1 million active apprentices nationwide. To qualify for the grants, eligible states and territories must commit to 3 core requirements: setting statewide registered apprenticeship expansion goals for increasing the total number of active apprentices, reserving a share of funds to directly support employers and registered apprentices in state-identified priority. Priority industries, and demonstrate a commitment to leveraging resources which may include WIOA, Governor's Reserve Funds, Perkins V, or Reserve Funds, and other federal things. So, again, check it out. Now we have a big push towards apprenticeships and not professionals in this country because we need skilled tradespeople just as much as we need professionals here. Someone's actually got to do the work, and I tell you what, they make more money often than professionals here. So let's go. I tell you what, we're going to go to commercials, and then we're going to have the news.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Posel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Posel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax,
from feature story news in Washington, I'm Nick.
Disasters and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Posel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
And here's our news segment.
From feature story news in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Iran is threatening to shut down key Middle East shipping lanes if the US blockade continues. The American Navy has blockaded Iranian ports since Monday as the US tries to squeeze the Iranian economy and force officials back to the negotiating table. Ever since Tony Waterman has more from Washington.
In a statement carried on state media, a top military official says Iran will halt all shipping in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Red Sea if the U.S. blockade continues and creates economic insecurity for the country. These waterways are among the most critical energy choke points in the world. The threat comes amid signals from Washington that face-to-face peace negotiations could resume in the coming days. President Trump telling ABC News to watch out for a, quote, amazing 2 days, saying he didn't think an extension to the 2-week ceasefire will be necessary. In a separate interview with Fox, the president said the war will end soon.
A 14-year-old student has killed at least 9 people in a school shooting in Turkey, the second school shooting in 2 days. The student, who died in the attack in the south of the country, also wounded another 13 people. The US rapper Kanye West has postponed an upcoming concert in France following further backlash over his anti-Semitic remarks. Last week, the Wireless Festival in the UK was cancelled after the British government blocked West, who was due to appear at the event, from entering the country. Ever since Ross Callan has more.
Kanye West posted on X that quote, "After much thought and consideration, it is my sole decision to postpone my show." The 48-year-old rapper has been heavily criticised for making anti-Semitic remarks and voicing admiration for Adolf Hitler. Britain blocked the singer, also known as Ye, from entering the country due to his outbursts. Last year, he released a song called Heil Hitler. The record was banned by major streaming platforms, and West expressed regret for his conduct, blaming it on his bipolar disorder.
A British media investigation has found some law firms are helping migrants pretend to be gay in order to stay in the United Kingdom. For thousands of dollars, lawyers are providing false documents to help migrants claim asylum under the pretense of being at risk due to their sexuality if deported. Ever since Stuart Smith reports from London.
The BBC investigation found that migrants were told how to gather fake evidence, photographs and medical reports to help deceive the asylum process, knowing that if they were believed, the UK government would not deport them back to their home countries once their current tourist, student or work visa had expired. Pakistanis and Bangladeshis in particular were able to take advantage of this process due to national laws against homosexuality, successfully claiming they would face persecution if sent home.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today with more on Peter Magyar, Hungary's new Prime Minister, the giant killer who brought Viktor Orban's authoritarian reign to an end by winning a landslide victory in the country's election last weekend. Mr Magyar, though, is no milquetoast liberal Democrat. He used to be a member of the same political party as Mr Orban until he broke away in the aftermath of a sexual abuse scandal that roiled the party. He campaigned on fighting corruption, reviving Hungary's economy and restoring democratic norms, or at least rolling back Orban's most draconian moves. But Grégoire Roos, head of the Europe, Russia and Eurasia programs at Chatham House, says Mr Magyar's rise to power is not completely bad news for Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin.
Not the best outcome, but for now Magyar has confirmed that he will not stop energy relations. They might be sad not to have their intel sort of source in Brussels and NATO, for sure, but they will survive. Magyar is not the kind of quote-unquote decadent liberal anti-Moscow, and he knows he needs to crack a balance. So at this stage, they will survive with that result.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, declared Magyar's win the victory of light over darkness in Hungary. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again, Iran is threatening to shut down key Middle East shipping lanes if the US blockade continues. A 14-year-old student has killed at least 9 people in a school shooting in Turkey, the second school shooting in the country in 2 days. And the US rapper Kanye West has postponed an upcoming concert in France. It follows further backlash over his anti-Semitic remarks, and the UK government blocking him from entering Britain. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
One of those days. I'm back in our studio. I have no field work scheduled this week, so hopefully production will be a little bit better. But anyway, we have all these meetings and everything. Nobody says anything? Really? Now, I didn't finish a thought here. Yeah, no big surprise. What's today? It's April 15th. It's tax day here in the United States. I started talking about the No Kings protests. As everybody here knows, if you're a long-time listener, we are... I've been involved in politics before. Been around people. And now you're going to say, well, tax day. You're going to say, well, taxes are too high, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, great. Everybody could make an argument for certain taxes being high and blah, blah, blah. I'm not a tax guy. For that, we'll get Murray Sabrin back on the line here, and we'll have talks. We'll have the fair tax people back here talking about how we should go to national retail sales tax. Hell, we'll even talk about Irwin Schiff on the legitimacy of the income tax. And that's what I want to talk about here. My brother and I were having a discussion over the weekend about someone we know who did not like to pay income taxes. And not a unique situation. So what did they do? We're going to work off the books. What happens when you work off the books? Immediately, you don't have to pay taxes. But what else don't you pay? You don't pay into what is called Social Security. And I believe the first $90,000 you make out of the year goes into counts towards your Social Security. So when you retire, at whatever age that is, you get a certain amount of money and, everything else. I would encourage everyone to go into their Social Security account and verify what your income is, because I worked at a place where the person in charge of paying the taxes and doing the withholding basically pocketed all the money, and they weren't able to, back in the 90s, they weren't able to catch up with her for several years, and then all of a sudden it was a complete tax nightmare and everything else, and they had to get forensic accountants involved. It was a nightmare to solve it. It eventually got solved. But for years, we did not have our correct earnings in there. And it took about 3 years to straighten it out. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, it does go towards Social Security. In the political movement out there are a lot of people. I've known about 7 or 8, let me count, 8 of them. Inside politics and outside politics. That got into their head, oh, I don't know, I'm working under the table. Meaning you're not paying taxes or being paid cash, or as that infamous independent contractor, 1099. They don't pay their taxes, and oftentimes in this country, the IRS never catches up with them, or they choose, it's a de minimis amount of money, they choose not to pursue them. Right? We're talking something like 50% of the people cheat on their taxes. I'm not telling you to cheat on your taxes. I don't tell people to do illegal things. But oftentimes people get into their head, I don't have to pay income taxes. I'm a tax protester. Perhaps the most famous one out there is a guy by the name of Irwin Schiff. He was the father of Peter Schiff, who came out with a whole bunch of publications. And I'm going to say this much. The U.S. government treats tax protesters worse than tax evaders in a lot of cases, because you're undermining the system. You're going to get those heavy fines and everything. And what happens is, with that, and politics is a magnet for this type of individual. So if you're getting involved with someone in the politics who says, or even in policy, who's an activist who says, I don't pay income taxes, or and there's leading indicators. Big one is that they only work for cash. Second thing is that they get a de minimis Social Security payment. I know somebody who was making $400 a month on Social Security when all of his peers were making closer to $2,400 a month. He didn't think of that when he was 30 years old, 40 years old. Number one. Number two, they come out with, they don't own anything. Because if you don't pay taxes, what are you not allowed to have? Because it'll get seized. Retirement funds, bank accounts, checking accounts, businesses, houses, everything's in everyone else's name. That means that either they owe people a lot of money, and that includes the IRS. People are out looking for them to collect money and everything else. These are dangerous people. I would encourage, and they're not going, if they don't pay their income taxes, and the government is the one with all the full force of law, full force of, has all the guns, has all the prisons, has all the court systems. If they're not going to, under all of that, and they're still not going to pay their income taxes or cheat on their taxes, what are they going to do to you? That means they're not going to pay you any of the money that you owe. If you happen to get into business with them, they're not going to do anything because they can't show an income. And they have all different kinds of schemes and everything. These are destructive people. Thank God I avoided these people all my life. But I tell you what, I could share with you nightmare stories. So that's my message on tax day. Don't cheat on your taxes. Pay your taxes. If anyone in these political movements is telling you about how the income tax is illegitimate or anything, stay the hell away from them. That's my message to you. Let's go back to the OSHA press releases here, because there are many, or Department of Labor. U.S. Department of Labor issues Field Assistance Bulletin updating enforcement priorities for employee benefit laws. U.S. Department of Labor's Employee Benefits Security Administration today issued Field Assistance Bulletin 2601 to clarify its enforcement priorities. These are the priorities: focusing enforcement on the most egregious conduct and significant harm, ensuring whenever possible and consistent with our mission that EBSA is not regulated by enforcement, guaranteeing fairness, prior notice, and clarity to the regulatory community. performing a proper review of senior agency officials of all critical enforcement initiatives, and committing that EBSA's enforcement will be timely and responsive. EBSA ensures the security of retirement, health, and other job-based benefits for American workers and their families. The agency is responsible for protecting 156 million workers, retirees, and families who are covered by approximately 2.6 million health plans. And plus, I mean, they're involved in everything here. So, again, that's where employers often skimp, is on employee benefit laws. U.S. Department of Labor. They were in a flurry of press releases today. U.S. Department of Labor amplifies maritime protections for Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, following increased workplace safety concerns. I work with several people who worked in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the nightmare and the horror stories that they have on worker health and safety there is ridiculous. It feels like you step back in time by like 40 years. Designed to address high injury and illness rates from the maritime industries, OSHA initiative establishes inspections directed at maritime industries operating on or adjacent to U.S. navigable waterways during a 5-year inspection plan. OSHA maritime inspections apply to industries in shipbuilding and repair, boat building, and marine cargo handling. Right, and they have a free consultation program. We also give maritime training at Safety Wars. Give us a call. Pardon me, had to cough there. U.S. Department of Labor issues guidance declaring proxy advisors may be investment advice fiduciaries. U.S. Department of Labor's Employment Benefits Security Administration has issued first-of-its-kind guidance saying that proxy advisory firms commonly engage in business practices that meet the test for being investment advice fiduciaries. The guidance follows President Trump's executive order from last year protecting American investors from foreign-owned and politically motivated proxy advisors. The executive order singled out Institutional Shareholder Services and Glass, Lewis and Company, two foreign companies that control 90% of the proxy advisory market. For years, ISS and Glass Lewis have recommended votes for board members, management proposals, and shareholder proposals that have political rather than economic motivations. Such recommendation could cause ERISA's fiduciary duties to apply. Right, so again, a lot of stuff going on here. Here we have, and again, this relates to our tax conversation a minute ago. Here, where a California construction contractor ordered to pay back wages and damages to 137 workers. Well, guess what? Workers are denied overtime and minimum wages. Guess what? The government gets a cut of it. Don't do that with that. SCA General Contracting Incorporated sets civil penalty for willful violations. U.S. Department of Labor has obtained a consent judgment to recover $468,000 plus in back wages and damages for 137 workers denied minimum wage and overtime pay by a Newport Beach construction company in violation of federal law. Again, this is over a year period. The division determined that employers repeatedly missed payroll, failed to pay workers minimum wage, etc. And our final one, and this is if you have people under the age of 18, youth employment, listen up. And again, go and check out the website and everything for OSHA and Department of Labor to figure out what applies to them here. So, U.S. Department of Labor investigation found an Oregon-based Korean barbecue chain restaurant violated federal law when it allowed a teen employee to work more than permissible hours. Hold on. Denied workers overtime pay, and Improperly kept employees' tips. Again, those are tax-free now. Investigate up to a certain amount. Investigators from the Department's Wage and Hour Division discovered that the owners of the Korean barbecue allowed a 15-year-old employee to regularly work more than 3 hours in school days past 9 p.m. between June 1st and Labor Day, more than 40 hours in a work week, all violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act. The investigation resulted in the recovery of close to $60,000 back wages for 32 workers, along with $38,000 plus in civil monetary penalties for repeated and willful violations, as well as child labor violations. Probably worth it for us to review that again. I mean, that's a common question at a lot of our client sites who want to hire, people who are youth, right? And unfortunately, that is illegal to have them work in construction world in most states. Okay. Let's take a break here. We're going to mosey on over to EPA press releases right after this. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that is designed to actually address and assess your hazards and liabilities and is not standardized baloney from generations ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call me, Jim Posel, at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you are receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Yes, that's us, facing the harsh reality. So, what else we got here? All right, so we have EPA press releases. We haven't really gone through this recently. So we have a whole bunch of local news here. Let's see if we have anything major here. It's from yesterday. EPA launches PFAS Out initiative to help proactively address PFAS in drinking water. Today, the U.S. EPA Assistant Administrator for Water, Jess Kramer, launched a new initiative called PFAS Outreach, or PFAS Out. This new effort proactively works with communities and water systems to reduce exposure to PFOA and PFOS in drinking water, years ahead of compliance with federal regulatory requirements. I tell you what, I just wrote a safety plan for a cleanup for this. Here. There's a local cleanup here in New York that's addressing this. The initiative is central to EPA's commitment to protecting Americans from PFAS contamination and advancing President Trump's Make America Healthy Again agenda. So EPA aims to directly engage about 3,000 drinking water systems nationwide that have known challenges with PFOA and PFOS. Again, those are for ever chemicals. We're talking approximately 2% of the water systems, which is a lot. Small, rural, and disadvantaged water systems often have fewer resources to navigate complex contamination challenges. PFAS Out is specifically designed to ensure these communities are not left behind, helping every affected system reduce exposure now and position itself for compliance with enforceable drinking water standards in the coming years. Now let's see if we could. So this is just the latest action the EPA is taking to ensure that Americans can rely on safe drinking water. On April 2nd of this year, the agency announced a landmark set of actions to safeguard the nation's drinking water from microplastics, pharmaceuticals, forever chemicals, and dozens of other contaminants, delivering on the Trump administration promise to make America healthy again. Again, there's stuff up for comment. Check out the website. And here it is, helping communities address PFAS in drinking water. It was announced in 2025 as a new outreach initiative that for the first time will proactively and systemically engage in water systems that face potential challenges with that. And let's click on this one. And this is the final PFAS National Primary Drinking Water Regulation. Boom. And this is what it's, I have all of the MCLs, that's maximum contaminant level for this. So for PFOA, 0 is 4 parts per trillion. PFOS, 4 parts per trillion. And, we'll, here. They have all different kinds of stuff here on here. So let's talk about what are these PFAS and safe drinking water. And here I have a fact sheet. PFAS are a series of man-made chemical compounds that persist in the environment for long periods of time. They're often called forever chemicals. For decades, PFAS chemicals have been used in industry and consumer products such as non-stick cookware, waterproof clothing, and stain-resistant furniture. These chemicals have been important for certain industries and uses. The latest science shows these chemicals are harmful for our health. PFAS exposure over a long period of time can cause cancer and other serious illnesses that decrease quality of life and result in death. PFAS exposure during critical life stages such as pregnancy or early childhood can also result in adverse health effects. Right? And about 100 million people, according to this fact sheet here. And again, all different types of resources the EPA has available. Now, I want to talk to you about these chemicals because I actually have, I won't mention the name of the product, but one of the first situations I ever heard of someone getting fired over an email had to do with forever chemicals. So had the person, again, you have to you got to be careful with a paper trail with things, unless you're dealing with a very adversarial system. And what happened was a person that I know was working for a manufacturer and manufactured a certain product. And they were doing, for their hazmat crew at the facility, they were doing the hazmat physicals. And they came up with these forever chemicals that, I should say the metabolites for these forever chemicals in their blood and urine. So rather than that person getting off the chair, going 3 doors down to their boss and say, hey, look, we have an issue here. We might have an issue here. The person then went and forwarded automatically we're talking 25 years ago, and forwarded all the data to their boss and said, I think we got a problem here. Now they created a paper trail and notification. And believe me, it was a problem, and she did have the qualifications to say that, by the way. Half an hour later, she was fired. Oh, yeah. It made it all the way up to CEO. She was fired because she brought that up there, and now they're open for discovery, lawsuits, and everything else. So what's the moral of the story? Have a conversation before you write an email. Document the conversation. Absolutely document it. Not necessarily you write an email, because you don't know where that email is going to go with that. That's all I'll say on that. Yeah, we have little tangents here, but if you're a new listener, if you're an old-time listener, you're a new listener, we have a lot of tangents here because I read these articles, and these are usually the first reading of these articles a lot of times. Here we have another one, and this hits near and dear to my heart, especially with $1,000 a month natural gas bills. Here we have Zeldum, Bergam, and Wright break ground on NESC pipeline in New York City delivered the reliable, affordable natural gas in the Northeast. Today, the U.S. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin and U.S. Department of Interior Doug Burgum, fresh off of the Bilderberg meeting, and U.S. Secretary of Labor Chris Wright participated in a groundbreaking ceremony for the Northeast Supply Enhancement Pipeline. This pipeline of Williams Companies will transport natural gas from Pennsylvania into New York City and Long Island, providing affordable and reliable energy for millions of Americans while meeting the growing energy demands in the region. President Trump and his National Energy Dominance Council worked across party lines to secure the necessary permits for the project from the states of New York and New Jersey last fall. NESE is an expansion of Williams Transco pipeline system across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York that will add 400,000 decatherms per day of capacity. I've never heard of that except on Star Trek, believe it or not. This is enough energy to serve the equivalent of 2.3 million homes. NESE remains on track to be in service by the fourth quarter of 2027. Couldn't happen quick enough. We got to do something about these fuel costs here for natural gas. I mean, I tell you what, we took a beating here. EPA, Delaware Department of Agriculture renew the pledge to first state farming, environmental health with a memorandum of understanding. This is out of Dover, Delaware. The U.S. EPA and Delaware Department of Agriculture reviewed their shared goals with well-managed sustainable farms that reduce food for our communities, a clean environment for everyone to enjoy through a memorandum of understanding today. Got to have that paperwork, you know. The MOU, because the paperwork saves lives and promotes things. The MOU covers topics from communication and education to environmental stewardship, funding opportunities, and regulatory programs. The agreement sets the goal of engaging the broader agricultural community to pursue environmental protection and regenerative practices, making clear that conservation and profitability can coexist. Here, so the MOU outlines this. Goals and activities to strengthen relations and outcomes for EPA and Delaware Department of Agriculture. 1. Focusing on improving water quality, particularly in critical areas like the Chesapeake Bay. Joint training for the agricultural community to ensure effective implementation of federal and state regulatory programs. Increase awareness on funding that supports conservation efforts and environmental stewardship. Hosting roundtables and educational farm tours promote success, address challenges, and identify opportunities to achieve well-managed, productive farms and a clean environment, taking advantage of annual events such as state fairs, farm shows, and technical field days to expand open discussion between EPA Region 3 and the agricultural community, promoting sustainable agriculture and environmental protection. So isn't that nice? We got nice people, all happy, smiling people, right? With that. EPA, where are we here? Lost track of time. We're at 53 minutes after the hour. We're probably going to cut it short here. This will be the last story. EPA announced its effort to revitalize Water Workforce Initiative at Water Week Roundtable. Yesterday, at a roundtable with water sector leaders in Washington, D.C., U.S. EPA Assistant Administrator for Water, Jess Kramer, boy, that Jess Kramer gets around here, kicked off an effort to refresh the agency's Water Workforce Initiative. Originally launched in 2020, this initiative coordinates resources across government and industry to more effectively bolster water sector careers and to reach the next generation of water protection specialists. Clean and safe water keeps our families healthy and our economy strong, and our workers are essential in making that happen. So one way EPA supports the water workforce is through innovative Water Workforce Development Grant Program. Since the program's inception in 2018, this grant program has invested more than $13 million in expansion of public awareness about job opportunities in the water sector. Now, I was talking to people in my family and outside my family on these types of jobs. There is one hell of a shortage out there for this whole maritime industries. I mean, if you're considering a career or you're looking for a job, that's probably one area you want to go to there. And that's what I got. So, in summary, there's a problem with secret meetings. And what the hell are they talking about in Washington? Why wasn't it on the news every day? We got all these important people showing up in Washington, outside of Washington. No coverage? Really? Why? Because maybe they're answering they don't want to ask uncomfortable questions like, what the hell are you doing? Second thing is, we're being manipulated. Constant manipulation. Constant games of distraction from what really matters. I don't know what else to say here with this. The other wars out there that's going to be shutting down by the end of the month, maybe they had it right on some things, but because they are the way they manage themselves, nobody would listen. Now people are listening. And the last thing, right? Pay your taxes, man. You have 4 hours to go. So either get an extension or file them taxes here. That's what it is. Pay your taxes. Don't listen to people who say don't pay your taxes. Don't listen to people who say that the income tax is not legitimate. Don't do it. Resist the temptation of easy money. That's what my message to you is. For Safety Wars and the Safety FM network, this is Jim Posel sounding off. And that's what we got here. Good night. God willing, we will be back tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Time to get this place unlocked.
We're back in business, folks. Well, the lights were off, the halls were quiet, paper piled up like a New Year's diet. Phones weren't ringing, no one punching in, but now the band is back, let the good times begin. Help swing open those doors again. Let the government groove, my friend. Stamp those forms, fire up the pen, 'cause the shutdown blues just met their end. Oh, swing open those doors again. Coffee's brewing, you can hear it percolate. Lines out front, people celebrate.